5 acres this way and probably 7 acres this way. Alright. Here is the road that we parked on when we went and saw Dickie's car.
Mm-hmm.
And I pointed out to you that I used to live in this house over here.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of went off at an angle like that for whatever reason. My grandfather decided to do it. And then across the street from that was the house that I lived in before we moved over there. And over here was a long, like a garage type of unit. That was for my grandfather's well drilling equipment. And then over here was my grandfather's house, where my mother was born. With the days, this was a day house, and then became a Wheeler house because my grandfather bought it from my mother's father, you know. So it was a day first and then a Wheeler. I'll put wheel for short.
Because 2 extra letters, you know, just crazy.
I'm
What
the only
about
one.
here? Can you write what that is? too?
That is the garage, or it's more like a hangar, but I'll put garage. Had 2 big doors so you could drive a truck in there or whatever. This is first house, second house. Before the second house came along, over here was cabins spread out. I think there was 7 of them, just randomly spaced. In this same building, basically in the same shape of this building, before the second house was a restaurant. That my mother worked at to serve the customers that rented the cabins. And the reason the cabins were there is because it was a profitable business back then, because Route 110 was the major road from Massachusetts to New Hampshire to go to the White Mountains. And people back then, just traveling was a lot slower because of the roads. They would always stop halfway to the mountains and rent a cabin for the night.
Can you put like another line and then like a little dot?
Oh, to make it look like a road?
Mm-hmm. And what's that?
That's I-10.
Oh, I should write cabins over here. I-10, not
Oh,
I-10.
110.
Yeah, it's not an interstate, it's just a regular road. My Aunt Betty had a little horse corral attachment to this garage, as long as I can remember. I don't know when exactly she put that up.
How many horses are there?
I think she only had 2. And then she had a little stable in here or something like that for them.
Can I need to draw the horses?
Horses. Like the way I can draw sideways like this?
Yes, you're doing. It goes really well here, and then once you get over here, it's a little bit interesting.
This is the famous road.
You called it?
The road. And this was actually a driveway to this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
For my grandfather's house, and he had another side building here. I don't know if I can't remember if it was one of the cabins or not. But you get up behind the house, and then there was a little yard back here. I seem to remember it being 2 rows, but my grandfather used all his, had racks built and stored all his pipe and everything for drilling wells. Then, after this, it continued as a dirt road out into, now I'm running out of space, but this goes a lot further than what it's showing. And we had to dump. We were right, that's where we found Dickie's car. We knew we were right at the dump. This is the dump, the Wheeler dump.
Where we found many historic items.
Yeah. I'll put a trash can there. And this is Dickie's car down here. So anyway,
What was over there?
this was then well that's got to go with the story. Now I'll put it in now. Over here, I think it was I don't know why, but she took down this little corral, my Aunt Betty, and put it out here. All right. This is where Scott almost fell off the horse because Aunt Betty let me ride it around thinking it was only going to walk, and it started running on me, and I got scared, and the horse sensed my fear, and my Aunt Betty had to run around and gather the horse before I fell off. Corral is with 2 R's, right? Corral.
You had to put Aunt Betty.
Aunt Betty. Aunt Betty's.
Who ultimately. Okay, she's the one that. Okay.
So then that eliminated this, and this just turned into an open area. We used to play baseball right here. There was that much room for kids to hit the ball back and forth. Once this was gone, we played baseball back and forth here. So what happened was, before this became the second house, it was this restaurant.
What kind of restaurant?
I spelled restaurant wrong.
I don't know, whatever. It was a big restaurant. It had seats on the inside and everything, and
What kind of food though? Home
I
cooking?
have no idea. I'm sure it was home cooking. You kidding me? And I don't know who cooked. I don't know if it was my mom. I think she just kind of cleaned and helped clean all the cabins. So early on, like about the time I was 5, they started the new interstate highway systems, and a new highway created no need for people to use this road to go to the White Mountains anymore.
Like a true Toy Story story.
Yeah.
Cars.
Oh, cars.
Was
Right.
that cars? So the whole business of the cabins was people going to the White Mountains for 3 months out of the year. The rest of
Traffic stopped. The road no longer going to White Mountains.
the business here was for 3 or 4 months out of the year, all right? And that's why it stopped, because now the cabins were there and nothing was being, so they sold off cabins. Cabins sold.
About what year is this?
I would say around 1960, 59, 60, somewhere in there. I was probably like 4 or 5 years old.
Right there.
I'll say 1960.
Is there a reason why he is writing all this down? Okay.
All right. Once they were sold, the restaurant was a dead building too. So what my grandfather did, is jack this building up, put it on a big truck, and moved it over here and placed it right here. And this now became a major storage area for my father's and my grandfather's well drilling stuff. In this place, my grandfather built that house, which we ended up buying. So once he did that, well, he tried to sell it, and nobody would buy it. So we bought it, probably at a discount, because since, you know.
Family.
Yeah. So we moved over here, and then this house was vacant. We tried to sell it, and somebody rented it for a while. I didn't get to tell you that part. But then ultimately, my cousin Robbie ended up living there. And so he lived there for a while, and we had moved over here. Old restaurant.
We both spelled restaurant wrong.
And let's see, am I missing anything?
Where did Aunt Betty live?
Oh, Aunt Betty, she's off the map. She's over here somewhere.
We'll just put over here. Aunt Betty's
Aunt Betty,
house.
draw an arrow. Aunt Betty. That way.
So
And then this way was, this way was my aunt,
Leona.
My,
cousin,
my aunt Leona.
your Aunt Leona or your cousin Leona?
My cousin was not Leona, it was Leona's daughter, which was the one that calls me all the time. Is that Leona?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, so that was, she used to babysit me.
right.
So she's down this way, little further than this. But this is Leona, who is from my mother's side of the family. So here's a day. Here's a day Wheeler. My Aunt Betty is a Wheeler. Robbie is somewhere in between because he was my Aunt Barbara's son with a different husband. It wasn't, so he wasn't a Wheeler or a Day. He was a Wheeler because he was the mother of my Aunt Barbara, but it was from another. My Aunt Barbara was not a Wheeler, but she was a Wheeler, but her first marriage changed her name.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So Robbie, Aunt Barbara's son. So that covers all the relatives. Over here was who she felt like family. Her name was Mary something. Over here, she had a house and that. Okay. So once all these cabins were gone, this all became, and it was all a pine grove anyway. This all just became play area. We still own the land. And then all the land out here, all the way to the river. And then each side of this road where my brother's car was, I think was county property or city property or something like that. That was not, my grandfather did not own that land. I think he only owned like maybe 150 feet this way or something, 200 feet. That's not that much. Let's call it 500 feet. In this direction, going down this road, and then the embankment that you remember. Once you get over the embankment and down into that area where my brother's car was, that was not his property. We could drive on it and everything, nobody cared. But he owned all the way to and past the dump. There's a certain amount of space each side of the river. Here's the river. I think he didn't own right up to the river. He owned a certain distance from it. It probably stopped on the other side of the dump. And then there was another space,
What was the name of the river?
the Still River. Hence,
It's still there?
yeah, the Still River is still there. Still River. It's still a river. And what do you think the name of my grandfather's well drilling company was?
Still Wells.
Still River Artesian Well Company. Still River. And if you Google that up, I'll bet you'll find it. Zilla River Artesian Well Company in Massachusetts.
So right here, that the road was closed to the White Mountains.
No, this road was closed.
Right.
Was closest. The road used to the White Mountain. Oh, right down that it was closed.
Right. Might have to put the city and state.
What city?
Bolton, Massachusetts.
They might have changed their name.
Well, they're not even in business anymore.
Oh, okay.
You'd have to put a date on there or something. Say 1960s well company, Still River Artesian Wells.
All right, so you haven't
Okay.
told the story about.
Okay, so as I said in the beginning, I'm going to call it 7 acres this way and 5 acres this way, and I'm probably underestimating. It could have been more. This is what we had as kids, me and Dickie, and we used to be able to play over here in this grove area. We played around here. We played softball, not softball, baseball right there. We'd drive down this or run down this road, and we had this whole area out here to play and everything. And
Don't we have a picture of you standing by the little river fishing? Not you fishing, but you took the girls there.
yeah, that was further this way. If you come another page over, that farm.
The red farm,
Yeah,
the red barn.
Kuntz or something like that. That road goes all the way down and across to the river because he owned all these cows, and he owned acres and acres of land out there of this feeding ground for the cows. And that bridge is what we were sitting on, the kids and I. And I was remarking at how well it was structured because it's still there after all these years.
Right.
So we had all this area to play around, and it was just an atmosphere unbelievable to grow up with your whole family in this big area. We basically owned that street. When you go from here, from where my Aunt Betty is, up past where the Days are, the Wheeler Days pretty much own the street. So what I was thinking of is trying to call and organize something where we could rename this section of this road to Wheeler Day Road.
Well, you forgot the part that your mom was born there.
Oh, yeah.
No, you said that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, did I miss that?
Yes, that's why he wrote day there.
So, how did your parents meet?
That I'm not exactly sure of, but and I'm not exactly sure of the time span either. But I think it could have correlated with the grandfather that I never knew, my mom's father, dying. And I don't know if that exactly is the time that my grandfather bought the house. And maybe somewhere in that process, my mother got to know my father. I don't know how she got to know him.
And then the cabins. What you forgot the
Okay,
cabin?
the cabins, when they were sold off, one of them ended up over here, behind our house. One of them ended up, I think out here, Betty was using it as part of her corral setup. And I think that building I was thinking of over here was one of the cabins. And so that was like 3 of them used right on our own property. And then the other 4 people picked up.
So are those the cabins that from Robbie's story about when they scared you?
I'm sure. No, when he
When him and Dickie played that really.
yeah, he was talking about this building.
Oh, okay.
What happened was, there's a window right here in the front. And we were always looking for reasons to scare ourselves, you know. And I think Robbie had said something about, at one time, he said something about an animal he heard, or a bobcat or something like that was roaming around in here. So me and my cousin Dale and Dean all decided it would be a cool thing to go look in there and see if we could find the bobcat. So we go over here, and this window was broken. And we looked and we go, the window's broken. It could have already been broken for all we know. I don't think Robbie intentionally broke it. But we also saw blood and hair on the glass. And we go, it came in, we went in through here. It's in there. Ah! We went running and screaming. It was ketchup and hair that Robbie had found, horse hair or something, and put right there at the bottom. Now, he never provoked us to go there. He just told us about it, probably knowing we were going to do it,
Yeah.
you know. Because he used to pick on us all the time. He was a big bully, but in a nice way. Him and my brother would team up on us all the time. But we went there screaming and yelling, and Robbie is still laughing to this day about that.
Oh yeah, I mean I remember
Yeah.
when during the reunion or whatever, he was telling stories up the yin yang.
What's that?
Acres and 5 acres. Can you write how do you spell
Oh,
acre?
7 by 5. Just say 12 acres. It might have been more.
Arch. It's an E.
Arkies. And we were over here, and we walked through the woods to get down to the car. So Dickie's car is down here. Dickie's car. And it's still there. And you're going to see it the next time we're there.
And then you're supposed to say, and now that's.
Now that's. The end of the story.